Allison here, the Bored Housewife. Thank you so much for joining me for the last episode of the year. I really appreciate what this whole year has been, especially in creating this podcast and finally putting it into motion and doing all of that. So today is just going to be a year in review, kind of, and just an accumulation of everything that I've been thinking about recently, things that we've been talking about, just to kind of start the new year with like a really great note. So anyways, shorter episode today. So I know the last two have been pretty long. I've had so much to talk about. So yeah, I am sipping on my eggnog and let's get into it. Cheers, guys. So I am sipping on eggnog, still in the holiday spirit. So as you can tell, have the tree and everything. Technically, it's not been Christmas yet. So now that I'm shooting this, but obviously Christmas will pass when you guys are watching this and listening to this. But yeah, today I am sipping on some eggnog. And it is really tasty. I'm not sure what kind it is. It's just this random one that I found at the exchange. Probably, I don't know, spiked eggnog. It's delicious. So definitely try it. I'm obsessed with spiked eggnog. Spiked eggnog. But, okay. So, year in review. We've been talking the last few weeks about values and adversity and, figuring those things out before, especially your values before maybe setting some New Year's resolutions or things like that. And so I've really been struggling a lot, if you listened to last week's episode, about this kind of little hole that I have and trying to figure out what is going on with that and where my values lie. And I think I've kind of had an epiphany, and I'm going to get into that into the next year, the next few months. I want to do some more reading, and I honestly haven't had the time to dive back into some of my other philosophy books. So I'm hoping in the new year that I have some more books to work with you guys, and and just to kind of help through other readings and certain things like that, help kind of drive some of these talking points that we kind of talk about for your daily, living daily with philosophy, basically. So I'm gonna get all into that in the new year, but yeah, today I just wanted to kind of talk about where my head is and maybe where you guys are at personally. So where I kind of started with thinking about this episode is, the day-to-day of this last year, if I just think about it, it just felt like a lot of anxiety, a lot of unknown. It kind of felt all over the place. There was just a lot of different emotions and feelings. I think we found out in February that Cliff was going to be coming to Japan, but we knew we were moving somewhere. And so the whole year was kind of like a preparation of this is, our last few months here in Alabama. And, just getting ready to say goodbye to some really good people that we met and all of that stuff. But, the day to day just kind of felt like that. But then when I looked at the big picture, if you guys didn't know, my birthday is in January. It's in the beginning of January, or in the middle of January. So, I turned 30 in January, and that was a big deal because turning 30 is a big deal. People don't typically like it. And I was kind of like, had a lot of mixed feelings because, we create these timelines for ourselves, which I'm going to get into in a minute, that like dictate where we should be at certain points in our life. And I just don't think that's fair of us to do to ourselves anymore. And so I'm going to get into that. But, turning 30 was different, but I had a big birthday party in Las Vegas with some really good friends, and we had so much fun. COVID restrictions were still a thing, so like we had to work around that. But even still, like we just had a blast and we made the best of it. I look back on this year and I started this podcast, and it's like so funny because my birthday feels like a million years ago. Like it feels like a lifetime ago, but the podcast still feels so very new to me. So again, just like how we perceive time and like with certain things, it's just kind of interesting. But yeah, and then, we had the summer family, had all these family visits, which was amazing because, we hadn't seen some of these people in a long time. And, we don't know when we're going to get to see them again in the next 3 years anyways. So it was amazing to have that, but it was also just like, the realization that like, okay, we're having all this family coming, like we're not going to be able to do some of the other things we had planned over the summer. And then, just getting like having people stay at your house, like it's really awesome, but there's always the stresses of like, is my house clean? Like, are they enjoying themselves? Like all these little things that, we put on ourselves because you care, and then, I got to go to Southern California and visited friends that I hadn't seen in probably like some of them I hadn't seen in like 2 years or close to it. So that was amazing. And then Cliff and I went on this month-long trip, and we went to new places and revisited some old places, and it was just such a cool experience. And then of course we moved to Japan. and then tomorrow, I'm shooting this before, but tomorrow we're going to be spending Christmas in Tokyo. Cliff wasn't sure if he was going to get leave or not, or not leave, but be back before Christmas, and so he decided to take some leave, and he was working in mainland Japan, and so he was like, hey, you should come here and do this. And I was just like, okay, I guess we're spending Christmas in Tokyo. Awesome. But, so this whole year has been kind of crazy. And, I think we measure so much of our growth and, life and all of these different things based on time, which, to a certain extent makes sense. It's very natural for us. Like, we organize our lives through time. Time is very important because it keeps us like on a schedule, and there's, it'd be really chaotic without time. Before they even like invented a clock, like they just like looked at the positions of the sun. It's been around since humans were intelligent, I'm sure, time, or the concept of it. And so like, it's like I said, it's natural that we want to measure ourselves against time, but as I really look at it, and people, I usually say this, like, don't get me talking about time because I just go off in this like circular conversation, so I'm not getting too into time. If you know me and know where I can go with it sometimes. But I just don't think like as far as, and if I'm making sense in this way, like, to measure our growth or to measure, like, I like to put deadlines on, like, I want to be this by the time I'm this age. I want to finish my screenplay by the end of the year. I want to whatever. Like, sometimes those things are good because I guess they can help keep us on track and like keep us focused. And if that works for you, that's fine. Um, but for some of us, that doesn't work for us. And I've just kind of come to realize that, like, again, time is not a motivator for me unless there's like money behind it, and that's a whole different thing, right? Like, if I was getting paid to write a screenplay and they told me they needed it in a certain amount of time and I felt that was a reasonable ask, I could get that done for them. If they're paying me thousands of dollars to write a movie, yeah, sure, I can make this happen for you. Um, and where's my priority going to go? It's going to go straight to that screenplay. The other stuff in my life is probably going to go off to the side. But, I'm just talking about our personal endeavors. Like, you know, whether you are successful or not in something, whatever you're just like personally working on, I think to give ourselves time frames is actually really unhelpful to accomplishing what we want to do, because then if it doesn't happen by a certain time, you end up feeling like a failure. And it's like, well, just because you didn't become a millionaire by the time you're 25 doesn't make you a failure. It just means that you still have some work to do if that's what you want to achieve in your life. So for me personally, I've been, thinking about this a lot, and I've always put so many deadlines, and that's where I'm kind of getting a lot of this from, is because, again, as I was thinking about my values and things that, how I can make myself more productive and all of that, I am just realizing that there are certain parts of my life that have just taken a lot more priority, and one of them being a housewife, just like, being there and being supportive for my husband, and especially right now because our house is a disarray. I don't know if I explained this yet. I don't think I have. We finally got our main shipment of household goods, so yay, very exciting. The last few days I have been a crazy person trying to unpack everything and find new spots and all of that fun stuff. Cliff has been over in mainland Japan for like the last 2.5 weeks, so I got to do this by myself, which is fine because then I don't have to listen to his opinions of where things should go. But it just takes you a lot longer, like trying to organize and everything. And so, this is kind of like the cleanest corner of my house. Again, I'm bringing that back at least until I can get everything sorted out. But there's certain things that are taking priority right now. And so I've just been beating myself up about not writing and not getting this stuff done. And this is some of the stuff that I'm going to get into in the coming year. But I kind of realized that I am also not being super proactive about things because I don't know what will happen if I actually get success. So when I say that, I want to like just clarify this real quick and try not to get like too far into it. But I'm just saying this because, and kind of giving you guys a little taste of what's to come. Because as you're thinking about your values and things that are important to you, some of these questions and some of these like things that you're working on might come up as well. And it's just helpful to kind of have like maybe a little bit of a guide of like where to go with it. So, I'm sitting here thinking like, what is my deal? What's my problem? All this stuff. And I've realized like, a lot of people are like, oh, are you like afraid of success? Like, are you afraid of failure? Are you afraid of, whatever? I'm not afraid of anything. I've never been afraid of failure. I've never been afraid of success. I welcome each of them because that means that you're doing something, at least, even if it's a failure. There's nowhere to go but up from there. Like, that's always been my mentality. And if it's successful, I don't think I would have an issue with success. Like, and I'm just giving this an example. I get my dream job of writing a screenplay and getting to direct it. I think I would just rock at it. I think I would, the experience that I've had, there'd be learning curves, of course, but I just think that, you know, I would handle that success very well. It's what comes after that of the unknown of, okay, I've achieved the dream that I've wanted for so long. Now what? And that's what makes me uncomfortable. It's not actually getting what I want, it's whatever might happen afterwards. So if I get to be a director writer, you know, what happens if I don't do well and no one wants to hire me again? What happens if I do well and I get too many job offers? What happens if I do it and I find out I don't like it? You know, like there's all these different questions and scenarios, and I realized that that has been kind of holding me back. It's not just like getting there. It's like, well, what happens like if I like succeed at this and then I'm 45 years old? I don't know, like picking random ages, but you know, and then it's like, okay, now what do I do? And so like I guess I'm like tired of like starting over again, like, so I don't want to find out that I don't want to do this anymore. So if I keep myself in a place where I just have that dream and that aspiration, I don't have to figure out something else to do. And so I've realized that's really silly, and that's not a productive way for myself to live, because I just end up feeling frustrated, and you know, I get those feelings of envy and stuff when I see people that are succeeding in the industry. And so I realized, I'm like, you know what, I need to let that go, because the reality of it is that as long as I'm still alive, I'm doing something. Even if I'm just sitting and staring at a wall, breathing, I'm doing something. And that to me felt really freeing when I came to that conclusion, because it just kind of puts things into perspective that none of this really matters. It's not that serious. And I don't say that in this like, whatever sort of way, but there's so many people on this planet doing so many things every day moving forward. I'm sure my existence has an impact 100%. I think we all have an impact on the world, and, you know, we can make that a positive or negative one. But I think in general, you know, us being around and being alive, there's so many different wonderful things that each individual can offer to the world and to the people and all of that. And I think we all do that by just existing. So I just kind of was thinking, like, you know, I think that it's okay if I drop the timeline, because whether I get success or not, if I just continue to enjoy the process and just write, just make my podcast, just do whatever the hell I want to do that day, then I'm doing something, and I can lay my head on my pillow at night and go to sleep. It's those days where, you know, I'm sitting around stressing about stuff that are totally out of my control, putting this pressure on myself to, you know, be active and doing this and doing that, and that's not helpful. It gives me anxiety. It makes me feel bad. And you know, and I'm not saying this to be like, you know, don't be disciplined, don't do that. Like, there's a difference between being disciplined in something and also like having maybe some unrealistic time frames of getting something done. So like, you know, if you're trying to lose weight or something and you're like, I want to make a lifestyle change and I want to, you know, weigh a certain amount, if that's realistic for you, whatever, or I want to get to a certain strength or whatever it is, like whatever your like goals would be in that area, you know, to think that it's going to happen in 6 months, could that be realistic? Sure. But like, you know, what happens if it doesn't happen in 6 months? Do you give up on your dream of being this fit person? Or, you know, maybe if you start out your intentions first with, I'm going to make this lifestyle change, if it takes me the rest of my life, then that's what it is, you know? Like, I think and this is for me personally too, when I get these ideas and when I have these projects that I want to do, and, you know, fitness goals as well, like that's definitely one for me, I immediately get excited about it, and then I get overwhelmed because I start thinking about how much work all of it's going to be, and I start realizing, like, shit, if I would have done this, yesterday, 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, like, I could have it done now. And, I get into, like, all of this, and none of that's helpful. None of that is going to be, productive and making me feel like what I'm doing is good, or is, like, good for me, because I'm just sitting here hating on myself that I hadn't been doing this whole time. So, I guess for me and for this new year, I'm just kind of working in this space of I'm not going to worry about time frames until there's money behind it because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Wow, I think this might be one of my shortest episodes ever I'm going to do today. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of insight and kind of hope this is a little bit more helpful. Again, like we're talking about going into the new year, we're putting this time on something. I think it's, like I said before, it's natural to want to work within a time frame because that's what we do. But, maybe have, like, if you're motivated by time frames, like, maybe have it loosely there. Like, I would like to have this done by June, or I would like to, do this or that. Like, a better time frame would probably be, like, we'll go back to, a fitness goal or something. Like, I would like to get into the gym 4 times a week. Like, that's a better use, I feel, of measurement than, like, saying to yourself, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds by July. Or if has some personal projects that you want to do, maybe you have stuff with your kids too. Whatever it is that you guys you have going on personally, like, how do you view it? I guess look at it that way. And if you do see that there are these, like, time constraints on things, and they're part of your focus, maybe just think, like, is that actually the right way for me to be thinking about this? And that's another point I wanted to make before I finished. In our lives, and again, why I don't think measuring ourselves in a time frame, in the space of time, is a good idea, because so much is changing all the time, even from our day to day. And, whether you're moving or, your kid was doing this sport and now they're doing that sport, maybe they're doing no sports, your friend groups, your jobs, the way you look, the way you feel when you get up in the morning, all of these things are constantly changing because we are, and the world is around us, and all these different things that come and enter into our lives and how we decide to interact with them. And so, these like little pressures that we put on ourselves doesn't really make sense, because yes, we like measure ourselves, but as long as we're alive, you're alive. And you could die when you're 20, you could die when you're 120. We don't have control over these things. And so it's kind of like, instead of measuring, about where we're at and this and that, it's really just about what's happening now, because we don't know what's happening tomorrow, and yesterday's already gone. So what are you doing right now with your time? And of course we want to plan for the future. Of course we want to, set goals and have ideas, and things take time, and so we work towards that. We also like to reflect. We like to reminisce about the past, and also maybe learn from things that didn't work as well, or learn from things that worked really well. We use the future and past in our now. We take inspiration from them and use them in our now. But to, live your life in this way that is dictated by what you've accomplished by a certain point, when so much is constantly changing, I just don't think it's good. I don't think, and not that it's like bad, but it's just like I don't think it's like the best way to live our lives. And that's just my opinion, of course. um, so yeah, just I'm talking about the new year because it's a time marker, and like I've said, like we acknowledge things by like holidays and birthdays and different points of the year that are significant because it helps keep us organized. That doesn't mean that you have to be something at that point, other than like deadlines that are out of your control that maybe you get paid for, or maybe there's like serious repercussions for, those deadlines, sure. you know, um, Picking your kid up on time from school, like, okay, yeah, of course that's important. Um, Getting to work on time yourself, that these things are important. That's what keeps us organized. But as far as like our personal ambitions and goals and dreams and wishes and all of these things that we want for ourselves, um, those don't have to be organized the same way. And I think that we can be a little looser with them. And yeah, I think just as we're, if you're in this place where you're reflecting and thinking about some things for the new year, I think that's awesome. But I also think it's awesome to constantly be reevaluating and thinking about what's next. And are you, kind of having these conversations like of, okay, where am I at right here? And like, um, just constantly kind of, I think that is a more productive way to deal with things than just being like, okay, by this time I'm going to have this done. So, in the new year, I am going to be working on some new stuff. I don't have a time frame for it because I think that was also stressing me out. I had all these ideas of stuff I wanted to do. I get overwhelmed, and then it's like, I got to do it all right now. It has to be done right now. And it's like, okay, this isn't happening right now. I have so many things on my plate, and, I'm beating myself up for not being more productive in everything. And I just realized, like, dude, you live in a brand new country. You're figuring out so many new things right now. Going to the grocery store is a whole different experience. And they do have like the base commissary and all of that, but even that is still different from what I'm used to. I mean, hell, you move to a new place in the States and they have a brand new grocery store, and it's like, okay, I gotta figure this out. Like figure out your route that you take. So, there's just been a lot of adjustment in my life, and I'm realizing like I just need to embrace it more. I need to go with the flow more. I am too high strung sometimes about these stupid little things, and it's like, this is just life. Like, this is just part of living. And this other stuff that you want to do, this other, like, this living part over here that keeps your house moving forward, and your marriage moving forward, and all those great things that you've decided are really important to you, those things are really important too, and you need to figure that out. And so this other stuff, like, you kind of just have to fill it in right now because that's just not where your priorities are. And so, yeah, I just realized, like, okay, calm down. It's okay. So I do have stuff that I would really like to try and figure out. So I'm hoping within this next year I can kind of figure that out and implement some of that stuff. And we'll kind of see where it goes from there, because I'm Not sure how long it's going to take for me to get adjusted living here, and I want to be able to explore and do all that fun stuff. So, anyways, I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. I hope you have a fantastic New Year. I have just really appreciated this last year getting to do my podcast and having those of you that have listened and watched on YouTube. Like, that just makes my heart so warm. So I really appreciate you guys, and I just hope that as we move forward, we can get into some more really cool stuff and talk about how philosophy can just help in your daily lives and just help you just live a better, happier life, because that's, at the end of the day, all that matters. So, anyways, cheers, guys. I will see you in the new year. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, comment, all the things. And yeah, I'll see you in the new year, and hopefully we get into some new fun stuff soon. All right, cheers. Bye.